Choppy, I've been saving this topic for about 3 weeks that you came up with, and I absolutely love it because I think we have reached a point with the Dallas Cowboys roster with needs that they are going to have to break the cardinal drafting sin that everyone tries to apply to their selection process. Everyone now says you got to go with best player versus need. And all these mocks, every single one has them taking an offensive lineman. Yesterday,
everyone.
We had Dane Brugler on. Was it yesterday or the other day?
2 days ago.
I'm losing track of my days.
Yeah, 2 days ago we had him on. Yesterday is when the email blast got sent out that said Dan Brugler. So,
right.
And who sent that out?
I don't know. The web team or somebody.
Oh, wow. Shots fired, Josh Clark. First he gets me in trouble with Mike and Trayvon Diggs. Now this. But now, Choppy, it feels like they have to go and choose need over even possibly BPA.
Yeah. Some of the modern, like the young Cornell, Harvard GMs are trying to go need as the way to go.
Really?
Because if you have a quarterback, and if you have Patrick Mahomes and the best player on your board is a quarterback, you don't take the quarterback, right? So you manipulate. I shouldn't say that. They're not going need. What they're doing is they're manipulating their board.
It's called jumping tags. We're jumping tags here.
So if you are stocked at defensive end, or let's say you have 4 all-pros on your offensive line, you're going to manipulate your board so you don't put offensive linemen in high enough, right? You put right, so it's called manipulating the board, or like Bobby said, jumping tags. Well, I know everyone's looking to replace Tyron, but does that mean that you want this team to deviate away from that best available? Because that would be the case, would it not? If you're zoning in on a singular position.
Yeah, it feels like you're sacrificing possibly in talent.
Right.
Because you're not getting like the most talented person regardless of position.
Yeah, they didn't technically. It wasn't like technically they did not need CeeDee Lamb when they drafted him, did they? They didn't need CeeDee Lamb.
No, I mean, it is a 3-receiver league.
It is.
But yeah, it was not like the biggest need on that football team.
Right.
They all thought edge rusher or corner that year.
But, and they did because I think their goal was let's draft somebody so we could move on from Amari Cooper and just continue to reset the market. But the plan was to find his replacement, but they got him only because, he was there. And, there were questions as to whether or not that was the best use of resources. I remember we had that discussion. Was that the best use of resources to get him? And say a corner is their top player on the board.
Corner.
Let's say this year they go into the draft.
Yeah.
And at 24, the number one player on their board, the best player available, is a corner. But we all know, and they could use one.
Yeah, they could use one.
They could use one, but they all know the tackle, like a left tackle, would be like their ideal number one available, right? Their most pressing need.
If they don't move
center.
Tyler.
Or center.
Mm-hmm.
It's their most pressing need. Do you go need, or do you still go with the best player available? Do you not take the corner? I mean, you could use it, and it's best available, or just pick a position.
Yeah, linebacker.
I think they're in a fortunate spot this year where everybody who believes that offensive line is their biggest need, I think there's a decent chance the board will fall to where the best player on the board is going to be an offensive lineman. So they're fortunate in that respect. But if there's a run on lineman or somebody slides down the board that you're not expecting, I still think I'd be okay with just taking the best player available because there's so many. I don't feel great right now about really any position on this football team. I feel good about quarterback. I feel good about the tight ends right now for the most part. Your receivers are not like a high priority, but really anything else you draft, I'm not going to be mad at because they've got so many issues. I wouldn't necessarily want them to use top-end resources on...
Let's say there's a receiver there who is an 8 on your grading scale, and there's a lineman who's a 7.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
I would probably take the lineman.
See?
In that instance.
So that is flipping the thought process of what you're supposed to do in the draft now, for in most parts.
Sure. A couple years ago,
going need over BPA.
A couple years ago, they had their best player available when they got to their pick was Dalvin Cook. And it was Zeke's second year in the NFL. Everybody would have lost their mind if they picked Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
And so, there's some points where...
Yeah, that's obvious.
It's funny. There's a clip out there of Chris Hall, who's been in the Cowboys scouting department since the 80s, where Chris Hall had given a talk at an Inside the League event. It's a group run by Neil Stratton for people within the industry. But he had said something where he said, people always talk about, do you want best player available or do you go for need? He's like, in reality, it is a blend of both. You're looking for the best player available that fits a need on your football team. That's what you want.
And you have not been understanding all the D-tackle talk with the Cowboys?
No. So here's the problem for me.
Wait. I don't want to blow up below the belt.
I'll just say this before below the belt at 8:40 when we do this. I think that your best use of resources, as much as defensive tackle's been a problem for this team and they've lost defensive line this offseason, I don't see a compelling case where your best use of resources would be to pick a defensive tackle in the first 3 rounds, personally.
First 3?
Mm-hmm.
Are they set at defensive tackle?
No.
Did I miss that?
Nope, they're not.
Okay.
But you'll have to tune in at 8:40, Shan, for the specifics of it.
Oh, wow.
But honestly, I think that just a general recap is you're not afforded a lot of luxuries right now with this football team, especially you don't have a 4th rounder. You're not spending in free agency. You have so many other things that you need to fill that, to me, I think you have to say, okay, that guy that you guys judged was a 1st rounder last year and we picked over a premium position in offensive line, you guys need to make it work. We need to trust the evaluation. The coaches need to make it work. So that's you have to be able to count on a 1st round defensive tackle from a year ago.
Give me the other position on the board as a Tolo on the Franklin Franco Injury Attorney Hotline that you are taking because it's the better talent over the offensive line need for this football team.
I'll give you an example real quick. What is the position that you feel most comfortable with on the Cowboys right now? Is there a position on the field that you think is that's set?
That's set? No.
Is there anything you
like wide receiver? I feel like if they drafted one in the 1st round, I'm like, all right, you all should have gone in a different direction. Unless you're getting
is tight
Marvin
end
Harrison, huh?
Is tight end a waste right now?
Yeah,
tight end's a waste.
Tight end's a
because
waste.
the thing with wide receiver is who is? I don't think they have a good a lockdown 3.
No.
Or a great 2, to be honest with you.
Just on my this is a perfect one to use then, because tight end you think would be a waste.
Yes.
This is a perfect one to use. There's a good chance that at
Brett
24,
Bowers.
the offensive lineman that you would want would be a 2nd round graded player. So I have, for instance, let's just throw out the name Amarius Mims from Georgia. He's my 19th ranked player on the board. He's a 2nd rounder to me. But
how many 1st rounders do you have?
18. So he's borderline. He's right there. He's top of the 2nd round. But Amarius Mims, offensive lineman, fits a need that you have, would be perfect. So that's my 19th player. Brock Bowers, a tight end, is my 5th ranked player.
Mims.
So it's so
that's
you would
a great
say,
example.
Much as that much of a gap, you would still say we got to go the need.
Yeah, because Ferg's my favorite player on the team.
He's one of the ones, just like Chicoline, who gave me crap about my wallet at training camp last year.
I'm set at tight end.
Right, but is this not could you not use 2 exceptional tight ends?
I just drafted Schoon.
Who's not any good.
I think Schoonmaker's going to have a bounce back here. I think that he got set back.
Well, you need him to because your draft name's on it.
What have I told you? What have I told you? What have I told you that Bowers and Ferg is Gronk and Hernandez?
Then I'll take the tight end.
For 4 years anyway.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Is that a Hernandez? We got more OJ talk coming up, all right? So there it is. What is the position? But I'm fine. I'm fine with drafting a D end.
Sure.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with corner. I'm fine with all-world safety in the new school passing league that it is, though. So you can go a number of different directions.